Kids are learning things that they see. They don't understand words yet, but they're learning from action. They're learning numbers. They're learning customer service. They're learning accountability. Like you said, that they can leverage into their first home, that they can leverage to pay for college, that they can leverage for their first car.
So you just got to understand what your goals are and then, how to accomplish those goals. And this could be just the gateway. Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk all about vending and why vending could be the perfect business for you.
Welcome to the Own a Business Today podcast.
The advantages, how you can keep your W-2 job. It's a very scalable business. Eventually, if you want to replace your W-2 job or your corporate job, this is a business that you can. It's very scalable. You basically add machines as you grow. There's a lot of advantages because you're buying vending machines, equipment. So there's the Section 179, there's the bonus depreciation. So it's a very good business for the W-2 employee looking to minimize taxes and then create a stream of revenue every month. And we're going to dive into the business model. But in essence, it takes about 1 hour per week per machine from what I've learned so far. And the gentleman today that we're going to be talking with, his company actually one of the biggest, if not the biggest, business models out there for aspiring entrepreneurs to get their feet wet in business ownership. And vending is like a perfect conduit because it's really, in my opinion, it's not rocket science. It's having a high quality machine in a great location with good foot traffic and optimizing the machines with the best product and getting as many vends as possible daily, right? And so without further ado, we're going to welcome Markel to the show. Markel, nice to see you again.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you, Beau.
All right. So everybody, look, vending, I think, is the gateway to entrepreneurship. Quite frankly, even if vending doesn't seem that attractive to you, because I thought about vending, right? Like, oh, well, I got to go stock machines. It's not a sexy business, but I think it's a business that has many values. This could be one of many businesses that you own. And within Markel's business, Naturals to Go, there's operators that run this full time. There's operators. I think you have an operator that's got hundreds of machines and has like 16 employees. So you can grow this business to be a gold mine. Obviously, there's work behind it, but what I like about Markel's business model is they're gonna train you. They've got great equipment. They're going to help you locate the right places to put the machines. And they're also going to put a vend guarantee. If you don't hit a certain amount of vends per week, they'll actually move the machines for you. So it's really kind of a business model that's been well thought out. They have well over, I believe, 10,000 machines out there throughout the United States. They're growing at a rapid pace. So Markel, I guess kind of opening this up is, if you don't mind giving the audience just kind of your take on how this business, you've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people that have been looking at starting a business, and why do you think people tend to go towards vending versus owning a franchise business with employees and so forth?
Yeah, and it falls into one of two things. One, it's their first time running a business. Business is scary. It's a completely different world, completely different language. If you're coming from the W-2 world, especially, everything is different. Taxes, your day in the life, everything that you do, it just gets turned around. So vending is one of those businesses that if I had to put money on it, I'd say 9 out of 10 people have used a vending machine in their life at one point. Everyone who watches this presentation and watches our conversation is going to hear or see or have been around a vending machine. So that's one reason. They're aware of it. They're familiar with it. They've used it before, and it's an easy business to run. There are no employees. There are no brick and mortar leases and outfitting of a building. There are no permits that you have to go out and get. You've got to get maybe one, which is a reseller permit, so that you get, that you don't have to pay sales tax when you purchase product, and you can resell prepackaged product. But outside of that, there are no permits. And then the other side is for someone who might be a serial entrepreneur that has real estate, that's got maybe a construction business, that's got maybe a commercial cleaning business, and they're a serial entrepreneur in many different realms, and they want to add one more thing that's not going to be super taxing on their bandwidth. They don't have to go out and find more employees. They don't have to go out, get more permits, and spend more money outfitting buildings. So that's another reason. Similar reasons for both people, but those are the two buckets that I've seen of individuals joining the vending world.
So I know many of you out there probably have looked in vending, and it's exciting. You might have looked at, like, well, it seems overwhelming to get the process started. Walk everybody through kind of the process, how you guys have put together a webinar. And guys, we've made it simple. You can go to vendingwebinar.com. It's going to take you to a page where you can put your name and email in, and it will automatically send you the webinar. And then it will make sure that Markel knows that you're watching the webinar so he can follow up with you and answer any questions. So I guess if this sounds exciting as we're going through this interview here, that's my first step, is just go to vendingwebinar.com. We'll put a link below and watch the webinar. Walk them through kind of the process you take your candidates through so they get a deep understanding of how the business operates and runs. And so they can get a level of comfort like, hey, this all sounds exciting, but I need to learn more. I want to figure out, what are, how does Naturals to go about, placing the machines? Can I call other people in the system that own and operate? So walk us through kind of the due diligence process that somebody exploring a business opportunity like vending might go through with your company.
For sure. And right out of the gate, it's all about making sure we're transparent with you. We want to make sure we're getting everything to you up front. So you're going to get a disclosure on call one. You're going to get an owner list on call one. Everything's happening on call one. Before that call, the webinar, as Beau mentioned, that's the first step, because we want to make sure this is a good fit for you. You might like vending, but you might not realize how much we do for you. And while most people like that we do everything for them, there are some people out there that say, hey, I might want to just do this myself. So that's the reason, we're not here to sell you anything. That's another thing people don't realize about our process. It's a mutual discovery process. You're learning about us to see if we're a good fit for you, and we're learning about you to see if you're a good fit for us. And we'll get into this in a bit. We're not a franchise. We're a business opportunity. So there's a lot less that we can do to cut the cord with you if you're a bad operator. So we need to vet all that up front. And the process is very simple. I've had operators go through it in 7 days, and they would have gone through it in 5 days if the FTC didn't mandate that you hold the disclosure for at least 7. So our process is very straightforward. You get everything on that first call, and you watch that webinar first time, schedule a follow-up call with me. We get you disclosed, get you introduced to owners, have some conversations to build on what you learned from the webinar and the conversation that you had with me. We connect about a week later, how those calls with those owners go, any other questions, any other stones we didn't unturn. Then we start to peel back the layers on how we're going to capitalize this thing. Because before we start even thinking about how we're going to fund this thing, we want to make sure that this is a right fit for you. So that's why webinar, first call, speak to owners, that's the upfront. Once we figure out that it's a good fit for you, we move into funding. Once funding's figured out, we have your intake interview. And the interview, that's one last spot check, one last I dotting, one last T crossing to make sure that you're a good fit for us, and we're a good fit for you. Then we move you into training. So it's a very simple process, nothing too antiquated. You don't have to do anything. We're not making you do backflips here, but we do want to make sure that you're properly vetting this opportunity, because vending, while it is simple, while our opportunity is very easy to understand, we want to make sure that, like I said, you're the right fit for us and we're the right fit for you.
Awesome. Yeah, the way, vending's always been intriguing to me, just because I look at it like I buy properties out of state, which actually I'm currently selling because I don't want to deal with out of state properties. And I was like, typically after expenses, on these real estate holdings I have, I make a couple $100. And maybe I'll get some appreciation. I'm buying in the Midwest. It's not the most appreciating area. And we buy for cash flow. That was the thought process. But then I was like, well, vending, it's like owning a bunch of mini houses, really. Now, you don't get the same appreciation, although you can sell your vending routes down the road. There are exits for these businesses too. And so when I looked at it, I'm like, okay, I always want to, finance everything. I don't want to pay cash. Although, if you have a boatload of money, you can pay cash, but you can get SBA financing for this business, which is great, right? You can get up to 90% of the total cost financed. Okay. So then, part of your due diligence process is that if you're getting SBA financing, you're going to put together projections. And I always encourage people, as they're looking at vending, go through your projections, because it's going to help you ask the right questions to other operators in the system. So when you're getting on these discovery calls with other owners, you're asking them right questions, like, what are you guys doing? What's your average vend cost and things like that. And that's going to help you build your business model. Then you're going to figure out what your payment for the SBA each month will be. And you're going to build out projections. So you'll have a good understanding of what to expect. And then, obviously we always, Markel and I talk about this. It's really just a discovery process, figuring out, well, okay, you guys are going to help place machines. If I'm buying 10 machines, how long will that take realistically to place? All these things gets addressed in Markel's wealth of information. So as you're going through this process, you're uncovering this. So back to me, how I was looking at it was like, okay, well, after I pay the debt of the SBA loan or equipment financing, or potentially I put an equity line on a rental property to pay for these machines. How do I finance it? That's all going to be discovered through the process, and then projections, and then essentially the way I looked at it was each machine is really like owning a rental property to me, right? And so on top of that, I can offset, and you guys got to talk to your CPAs and stuff. You can offset your other income, your W-2 jobs, or I have other businesses that I might be able to. So you can be very strategic on buying more machines each year, depending on how much revenue is coming in. So that's what I do a lot of times is I go, how could I minimize my tax consequences this year? And so I'm planning ahead. And so if I know I'm going to be selling some rental properties and I don't necessarily want to 1031 exchange them, would buying, 8 machines offset some of that gain? And so those, obviously you're going to get in with the CPA to really figure this out, but that's the way I look at it. And then you can continue to scale and build and build and build and build. And before you know it, you're like, wow, I have 20 or 30 machines and I just replaced my W-2 job. And it's very feasible to do that, within 2 years. That you have operators that come in your systems, and they can come in with as little as 4 machines they can start with, and they can scale up to well over 20 machines, I believe, or right. So depending on your comfort level and your financial capabilities, you can really kind of start with like full speed, or you can start slow. It's really dependent on your needs and kind of what you're looking for. Where do you guys, out of all the operators you work with, is there an average kind of machine count that people go in? I don't know if you've done any studies on like what the out of the, I don't know, a couple hundred operators you have, the average number is 8 machines or whatever. I'm just curious. I didn't never asked you that.
Yeah, so it's actually spot on. It's a range from 8 to 12, and it's you can chalk that up to people being able to easily do math, multiplying by 10. So 10 is the most popular, but if I had to give you a range, it's that 8 to 12. Another thing is we only have even numbered packages. So you buy either 8, 10, or 12. There's no 11 or 13 or 9 in there. Some people think it's a superstition thing. I say, no, it's not. It's about deployment. We've done a lot of research. And we get into all that. But anywho, yeah, 8 to 12 is the average that I see. Most getting started in that 10 range, just because that's that easy multiple, and they can really envision the business starting at 10, growing to 20, and they can do that math easier than 12 and then 24 that way. But one other thing you mentioned there right before that were the different types of ways people get started in the business. And there's really 3 buckets that those people fit into. There's part-time operators, full-time operators, and then right in the middle are your scalable operators. And the mindset that those 3 come into the business with are very different, but they all end up leading to whatever they want. The first, that part-time operator is someone who wants to keep that day job. They love those benefits. They love, maybe they have a big family and they need the health insurance, but they don't want to go off and start a business and have to get that themselves. So they keep the job, but they want to do something for that supplemental income, that scaling out of their current job if they might. So that's that next person that I'm going to talk about, the scalable operator. But that part-time operator specifically comes in and says, I'm never going to get more than this number of machines, and I plan to keep my job. That scalable operator is someone who doesn't love their job, but they need it for those benefits. They need the paycheck for whatever reason. They don't want to leave, golden handcuffs, so to speak. And with those individuals, they're growing their business because they're able to while running their day job. And then their business gets to a point where they can walk away from their day job. And those are the people that when I work with them and I stay in touch with them over the years and they finally make that move to move on from W-2 to full-time, 1099 or sole prop or incorporate, whatever their entity is that they're running, entrepreneur. It's such a weight off their shoulder moment. They feel like they just escaped the rat race, so to speak. And it's a liberating feeling. And knowing that I was part of that's why I do this, for that feeling that you get. And then those full-time individuals are people who come right in out of the gate. They might have done 30 years in corporate, 20 years in pharmaceutical sales, whatever. They've built up a solid 401k, or they've put away enough money to do their business whenever they got to that point. And those are the individuals who come in and say, I'm getting 20 machines. I need to replace this 6-figure income, and this is what we're doing. And we're prepared for all of those individuals. And that's the beauty of our program, is no matter how small or big you are, we're going to work with you. And that's the main focus on our process, is to make sure we're tailoring your deployment, we're tailoring your training, we're tailoring your mentorship, your account manager's relationship, your field supervisor, and we'll get into all that. But yeah, so I just wanted to add that, because you hit a point that I really love, because that's a question I always get, is who is this for? Is this the right fit for me, or am I just looking at it because I stumbled on it? And I'm saying, well, let's have a conversation of where you're coming from. And you usually fit into one of those 3 categories.
Yeah. Then the other nice thing too is, this is something you can also get your kids involved with, right? And I was talking to my marketing guy, and we always talk about business, and I said, the vending business, we were just talking about it because he just visited me this weekend. We went to a conference together, and I hadn't seen him in person for 7 years. We meet on Zoom every week to work together. But one of his sons doesn't want to go to college. And I said, wouldn't it be cool to set up your children with a business? What if out of high school, your son or daughter had 10 or 12 machines running, and they never had to go to college if they didn't want to. If they chose to, that'd be fine too, because it could fund, their education. But that's a good point to bring up. It's like, this could be a legacy business. You could get it started for your children. Now, your son or daughter graduates high school, and they've got enough money to live on and then some, and then they can really go after whatever their goals are, whether they want to be an artist, a musician, or they want to start another business. They have all their expenses covered. They're making money, and they would never have to work for somebody else. They could be a business owner from day one. And I think there's more and more people that are really aspiring to do that. And now that I'm having my first child, it's like, for me, I'm like, yeah, my son that I'm going to have here in April, my goal, right, is for him to live a life better than mine, and to share like all the knowledge I've learned over the last, really since I was 20. Didn't go to college, but I've been educating myself in business and learning about real estate investing and business ownership. But to be able to take this knowledge and share it with my son when he graduates high school, and he's like, Dad, I want to go straight into business. And well, the good news is, son, you got a heck of a business going with your 20 machines, right? Like, you are good to go. You can now go buy a house, and you can get a mortgage because you've got a lot of income coming in, and you can live such a different lifestyle than the majority of Americans do that are on the corporate grind. And I talk to entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs every day. And the biggest thing is, everybody wants to get off the hamster wheel. And not everybody will, let's face it. I mean, but the people that take action, and hopefully you're watching this and going, hey, this resonates with me. It's a simple business model. I can grow it slowly. I can grow it quickly. I can really understand this business. I think this provides a lot of opportunities, and it's exciting for many people, and it's simple. And I think simple sometimes is the easiest way to go, because sometimes when I'm taking people through, looking at different franchise concepts, they get overwhelmed. They're like, well, I don't think I can do this. 99% of the people probably would say, yeah, I could probably do vending. The nice thing about this business too is that you can operate this business pretty much off the phone, right? And then you're going to be going to Sam's Club and Costco and buying your product. Other than that, and delivering and filling the machines. But the technology now that they use, the payment processing system, also links, so you can see how many vends each machine's doing and your inventory levels, so you know exactly when to go get your product ready to go deliver it, and fill the machines back up. And so that is pretty exciting too. So you can take vacations with this business. You can have that was one of my concerns, Markel, is like, hey, part of my future is taking more trips to Mexico to visit my in-laws there and my family there, and to be able to have that freedom. And I think this vending business would allow for that, because you can really figure out the gaps of when you're traveling, when you're going to restocking. And what I would do is I would have one floater, even if I didn't want to hire somebody to do you eventually you can just hire somebody to do the routes for you, which is also pretty smart. I think once you got to a certain level, that I don't necessarily want to go fill the machines. Maybe I would actually enjoy it because I get out of the house and I do that. But that is a nice thing too, is that this business, you can see what you need to do from your phone. And then, if you're traveling a lot, you can have one person that you pay, hey, when I'm on vacation, I'll pay you a couple bucks. This is the route. You train them. And then eventually that person could do this for you full time. So I also like that about the business. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and a couple of things you said there, really, congrats first. I didn't know you were going to have a son. I know we hang out here and there, but I haven't heard about the news yet. So congratulations on that first. And that's actually what that B is right there, is my son's artwork. So we frame it whenever he comes from daycare with stuff. We frame it. So I said, that's going right in the office. Everyone in the world's going to see your artwork. So congrats on that. That's one of the things. I was just working with a gentleman yesterday. He's got a son who's got cerebral palsy, and I've worked with many different cases where someone is creating a business for their child, whatever the reason is, whether it's because they know when they get older and they go to get a job, it might be a trouble because of the disability they may have. Or if you just want to get your kid set up, the same way people contribute to college plans, the same way people contribute to IRAs, Roth IRAs for their children, start a business for your child. A lot of people go out and they say, oh, I'm going to buy my child a property every, birthday instead of a gift for them. I'm going to buy them a property. There are people out there who do that. Create a business that you can include them in, they're involved in, they're learning these principles throughout their whole life. And when they're young, that's the time to do it. A lot of people, I'm a parent, so I know now, but I remember coming into parenting, I was like, how is a 2-year-old or a 1-year-old or a 3-year-old going to get this stuff? But the things, my son's always around, that he just repeats out of nowhere and he just remembers and he recalls. Kids are learning things that they see. They don't understand words yet, but they're learning from action. And when they're out there filling machines with you, when they're out there, in your garage or in your wherever you're keeping your product, stocking product, they're learning numbers, they're learning customer service, they're learning accountability, they're learning inventory. There's so many things they're learning with a business that you're growing for them, like you said, that they can leverage into their first home, that they can leverage to pay for college, that they can leverage for their first car. And what pride to be a 5th grader or a 7th grader saying, yeah, I run a vending business with my dad and it's mine, but my dad and I run it together. I was working with a gentleman over in California. They shut his son down from selling candy at school. So he challenged his son and said, hey, write a proposal to the school and see if they'll allow you to do it. They shut him down again and said, okay, we're going to get a machine now and put it in there. So he's teaching his son never take no for an answer. And those things almost bring, they choke me up a bit because I'm a dad. I'm a dad that understands the importance of entrepreneurship, that understands the importance of setting your children up the correct way. So I love that, that including your children. There's so many different stories of naturals to go owners, including their children, the tax advantages you get for it, the family. It does so much. So many people that wanted to leave the rat race because they're not spending enough time with their children now are making more and with their children. It's just we could have a whole conversation about the different cases that I've worked with that included the family and their children. And it's so heart touching when you see the end result.
So let's just fast forward to somebody's gone through the discovery process. They're like, yes, this business is for me. They figure out financing. They, make their purchase essentially. Now let's talk about what they do as far as, I think it'd be kind of cool for people to hear how you guys do I think it's either a 2 or 3 day training in person, 2-day. You fly in, it's like 2 days of action pack, how to run the business, how to open machines, how to actually fill the machines, everything that you would think are like the sticking points. There's the nice thing about Naturals to Go is there's support, right? Like there's probably something's going to come up. something gets stuck or something, right? You have customer service that you can tap into. So like you're not alone, right? You're an entrepreneur, but it's a it's a process and a blueprint. And so like your chances of failure greatly are decrease when you have a system and a process versus like, hey, I'm going to start a vending machine. I'm just going to go get a machine and find somewhere to place it. You're getting a team that's going to train you on the business, going to show you the right machine to put in this business. They're going to show you what inventory to start with. They're going to they're also going to provide you with technology that you can monitor from your comfort of your phone, and they're also going to place the machines, and they're also going to give you a guaranteed on vends, which I think is really cool. So like, hey, like most of the time you're never going to have to move a machine, but just in case, hey, it's just not doing the volume, they're going to help you place it to an area where you can get that minimum guaranteed amount of vends, and hopefully you can far surpass it. So at the 2 day training, you're going to deep dive, and by the end of that, you're going to have you're going to feel very confident, and then you're also going to have support because you're going to continue to grow. You guys do walk us through like after the 2 day training, as the machines are getting placed, what ongoing do you guys do, like Zoom trainings, or what does that look like for people in the business?
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that make us stand out. A lot of people, they love our machines. It's the first thing they see. It's something, a lot of people see them out in the wild and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even know machines can clean themselves and talk to you and do all these things." It's like an experience. So the training afterwards is very much on demand. You have regularly scheduled appointments with what's called your account manager. So as after you leave training, so before training, you have an onboarding coach. So it actually starts before you even go to training in person. We have an onboarding process to get all of your systems set up, that app that you can monitor everything from your phone, your point of sale systems, your purchase list, your prices. We help you with all of that. Once you go to training, you're meeting all of your team in person. So you're meeting your account manager, you're meeting your field supervisor that's supervising the locating team that's going out and deploying your machine. So you're meeting your locators as well. You're meeting your business coach that'll be working with you afterward. So when you meet all these people, these are the people that you're going to end up calling one day. It's not a matter of if, it's when. It's the same thing with cars. You're going to have an issue one day. But are you going to be on the side of the road without AAA, or are you going to have AAA to call and come get you? And now it's a headache that you don't have to worry about. And that's the difference between us and doing it yourself. You're by yourself if you're doing it yourself. You've got a team behind you that's just one phone call away. So when anything comes up, whether it's something as simple as a machine fix, something that's not even machine related, but you just want to run an idea by someone, whatever the case is, you've got your account manager, you've got other local operators. That's another thing not a lot of people think about. They usually think about other operators in the area as competition. But in our market, the way that we operate it, the way that everything is set up, other operators in your area are part of your ecosystem. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday. I said, I had one client come back and say, "Oh my God, I connect with these guys almost like a Toastmasters group." And I'm like, it's the difference of networking at your local bar or networking at a country club. We're an exclusive group of entrepreneurs that have all gone through the same training. So you're going to be joining those people. So the training afterward, a lot of people think it's this formal, I've got to sit down and, dedicate hours and hours and hours and hours to my business. And it's going to be stuff that's pointless and stuff that might just be, assignments to get checked off. And that's not the case at all. It's very much like an executive MBA program where you're going in and you're learning things from application and you're applying them in real time to make sure they stick. And you care about making those things stick because what you're applying it to is your business. So you're seeing these things deployed and applied, and you're seeing the results in real time. And then you're tweaking things along the way with your account manager, running it by other operators in your area. And that's how you grow your business to what you spoke about earlier, a 600 plus machine route with a 25,000 square foot warehouse, 16 different employees, a fleet of vehicles, your own product. And we support businesses like that.
Wow.
Hope that answered the question for you.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. So as you can see, there's a lot of support. You're not alone in this, this journey, and it's really a limitless business model where you can grow it to wherever you want it to grow. You can keep it small. You can go large, and so that's what's really exciting about this business. And I think out of most models, that this one is probably appealing to the majority of people because they're like, look, I'm not really that entrepreneurial. I need something simple, but yet is going to get me the desired results. And then you put in like kind of the fire, the gasoline in this whole thing, and like, hey, I'm making 200 grand as a W-2 employee. Well, good. Well, learn about tax benefits. There's so many value adds. I was just talking to a very, very successful CPA. I'm not going to name drop him right here, but he's written a lot of books. And I was fortunate enough to get on a Zoom call with him and several other people, and he was presenting on how he built a brand, because he's a very well known author now, and I I got to ask him some questions, and I was like, yeah, like what I do, I work as I call it I'm a business ownership coach, and I also help people finance businesses. That's my core. And really, my message is business ownership. I believe that everybody out there should own a business, whether it's vending or it's not vending. It's a certain home service type of franchise model, whatever it is that you resonate with out there. Everybody should own a business, even if you've got a W-2 and you want to keep the W-2. That's even more of a reason to own a business. Everybody. So, anyways, I was trying to pitch this guy, the CPA gentleman, to write a book with me on this, and I was thinking of names and stuff. Anyways, I do have a meeting with him on Thursday, so wish me luck, because if I write a book with this, he's a best-selling author. So
I may not see you again.
yeah. But yeah, business ownership is so important, people, really. And that's why I wanted to bring Markel on today, is really kind of dive into it. And Markel, you deal with people that come into the system that are going through the process of discovery if vending's right for them. I mean, who are they? They're like, they could be a doctor, they could be an attorney, they could be, somebody that works at Target.
Yeah. I'll tell you my last 10. I had a fireman that came on. Fireman. He said he has a lot of free time. So they work, I think it's like 3 days on, 4 days off, something like, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Those 3 days are 3 intense days. Pediatric surgeon, it's a big thing for them. Hotel, a group, they were a hotel, a family that owns a bunch of hotels. And they said, why not put some machines of our own in these hotels? And they wanted our caliber. I'm trying to think of what this guy. Oh yeah, it was a BJ's manager. He was a district manager for Berkeley and Jensen. It's a wholesale food store, really popular in the Northeast. And he's like, I see people coming in here all the time buying all this product, and I've made friends with some of them, and they're vending owners, and I see what they're buying, and he's like, I need to do this myself. I've been doing this for years as a manager. So that's just 5. I know I don't want to go down the whole list, but these people are coming from all different walks of life. The ones that I see a lot of, though, are also military. It's not just a profession. It's also, military as well, because they understand a system. They understand that camaraderie amongst each other. They understand, following what works and following those who have walked that path before you. So they do very well. And there's a discount for military, whether it's active or veteran, that we offer. It's the only class of individuals that get a discount, but military individuals as well. And we have such an affinity. Myself, a lot of family in military. I wasn't, but a lot of family. So we have such a respect for them. And there's just so much that is overlooked when they transition from that, active military to civilian world. And there's a lot out there, but there could be more. And we're doing our small part to do and help them make that transition into entrepreneurship. And I'd say the other really hot one that I see a lot of people who are into real estate, because in real estate, there's a lot of individuals who can't get traditional lines of credit because of the way that their assets are set up and everything. I know I worked with an architect that had that issue, real estate, but there's ways that they can package it. And since there's equipment involved, they're able to move into the business. So there's just so much that we're able to do, and we're so flexible. And one thing you were saying is people, you can start as small or as big as you want. You can scale it to be as big as you want, but even you can scale it down if you got to a point where you need to take a couple, maybe 10 machines off, and you go and sell part of your route to someone. Or let's say you're moving and you only want to bring a certain amount of machines. So this really does fit a lot of different people because it's so flexible, in the military world where you're moving every 4 years possibly, or in the corporate world, if you're moving, going back and forth a lot, you can't be oversight or have oversight of your business and be on site 24/7. So there's just so many different classes of people that I've worked with from different backgrounds, different reasons. I mean, there's the stories I could tell you, man. There's just so many cool stories of people and where they came from, why they're doing this, and what they're doing now.
Yeah, that's cool. And another thing, guys, from the financing standpoint, which I think is really cool, you can build in working capital in the SBA loans. So for the first few months as you're ramping up, you can build in, depending on how many machines you do, 20, 30, 40 grand, depending on. So that's another plus. And remember, you're coming in with about 10 to 11% of the total project cost typically, with the banks we work with. So you can really leverage this and get in with very little out of pocket. And basically, I think I brought up Markel. I had this lady, and she makes like 4 grand a month W-2, and she's like, I just want to. Her real passion is, she's like, writes screenplays, and that's what she really wants to focus on. And she's like, I just want to find a way to get, this, replace that 4 grand a month. And I'm like, why don't you look at vending? I mean, if you want something predictable that you can finance with SBA, and that, and of course, I still got to educate her. Like, look, for what you're looking for and the amount of capital you have, vending is probably the best business. And ultimately, I bet she'll end up meeting with you, because it's kind of like, look, if that's if step one is just replacing your kind of, let's call it a lower W-2 income, that is we can accomplish that. We can you're going to do your validations. You're going to find out, hey, what can I look at as far as, bottom line net per machine. You're going to get some kind of, you're going to get an understanding of what that's going to look like. You're going to be able to say, okay, well, I'm going to need X amount of machines to replace this 4 grand. Okay. And can you wrap it in with SBA? Do you have that $10,000 or $15,000 equity check to write, right? For the SBA loan. It's that simple. And for this lady, I'm like, this is like, hey, it might not be the sexiest business in the world, but it's not sexy that you're stuck in a job that you hate. And so that's the other thing that I really, struck me, that people should start looking at doing, just like those baby steps, right? Everybody wants to go out and buy rental properties. I've been in real estate most of my life, but the truth is that you're going to need a much bigger down payment, and you're going to get probably less cash flow than you would on a vending machine. So you just got to understand what your goals are, and then, how to accomplish those goals. And this could be just the gateway. Okay. Like, even if you're like, well, my ambition's a lot bigger than owning vending, that's fine. It could be the gateway to get you where you need to go. And most entrepreneurs own multiple businesses. So I think you guys should all look into vending. You can go to vendingwebinar.com. Markel will get notified that you're watching the webinar. You talk about, I've known Markel now for a good amount of time, and he is patient. He is thorough. If he doesn't know the answer, he's not going to lie to you. He's going to go get the answer for you. And he's really going to help you figure out if vending is the right business. And that's the key. You're going to go through the webinar. If this excites you, you're going to go through the webinar, and then you're going to meet with Markel. If it, after the webinar, you're like, yeah, I am interested in pursuing this. And then Markel's going to take you down the rest of the discovery process, so you feel very confident in whatever decision. And worst case scenario is you say, hey, I went through all the due diligence, I just it doesn't resonate with me. That's fine. But we want to give you the kind of, like, we want you to kick the tires. We want you to open the hood. We want you to give it a test ride and see if it makes sense. And if it does, Markel's the person to help you during this journey, and and be successful in this business. And he's got a huge team behind him. That's, they have, onboarding people. They have the account managers. You have other business owners to network with. So I mean, really, the sky's the limit, and that's why I really wanted to bring Markel on today. Just really kind of do a quick deep dive on why you should consider vending, how you can incorporate it into your life right now. It could be just for the fact that it's a good business for potential tax strategists. I think that's like the surgeon, for example. The guy's probably making a couple $100,000 a year. He probably is like, man, I need some tax write-offs. And vending, really. So there might be different reasons for all of us. Some of them are like, hey, I just want to replace my $4,000 W-2 income. So there's a use case for everybody with vending, I believe. So I encourage you to go to vendingwebinar.com. Any kind of last thoughts on the business, or anything, any feedback you want to give to somebody who's watching and saying, hey, this conversation opened my eyes, like, to a non-sexy business, or as Cody Sanchez says, she says, boring business. What are your kind of closing remarks on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kick it off with the most probably used quote out there, and it's that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And the worst case scenario, if you dedicate some time to learning about this business, is you're going to walk away with speaking with some current owners and some more knowledge than you walked in with. You're also going to walk away with a custom territory analysis on your area. So even if you don't decide to use naturals to go to deploy your vending business, and you go elsewhere, or you choose to deploy it some other way, you're going to have insight on your area and insight from some of our operators. And I know some people might be like, well, what do you guys have to gain from that? And me personally, I'm a big believer in karma. So if I can help someone open their eyes up, I helped a guy yesterday find out that he had another $250,000 in a 401k that he could roll over without paying penalty on tax and any early withdrawal fees. And his eyes lit up. I mean, imagine if I find $20 in my pocket on laundry day, I'm excited. So I can imagine how that guy felt. So you're going to walk away with at least knowledge. I'm going to help you find things that you haven't found before about yourself, or even in that guy's case, some money that might be sitting around that you can use for another business. I mean, sometimes my conversations start turning into, hey, you might want to do this as well as naturals to go. And we start talking about completely other concepts, and I don't know enough about them, but I get people thinking. So that's the least you're going to get, is that you're going to talk with some of our owners. You're going to get a custom territory analysis. We're going to find some things out about you. We're going to get you thinking about yourself differently, and you're going to walk away with something. I can promise you that.
Awesome. Guys, go to vendingwebinar.com, watch the webinar. Then, if that intrigues you, Markel will reach out, and you can book your first call with Markel and just kind of go through everything you've learned so far and the questions you have, and then he'll guide you through the process. And that's all I have to say. I mean, that's really why I want to bring Markel on. It's like, guys, there's opportunities out there. I think this one is a simple, boring business that can get you where you want to go. And whether that's the starting point, or it could be the retirement point, right? You got the beginning entrepreneurs, or you got the corporate people that just want to, make a couple extra bucks just to support their retirement. All walks of life, vending makes sense. So vendingwebinar.com. Markel, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, take care, guys.
Welcome to the Own a Business Today podcast, your ultimate destination for captivating interviews with franchisors, seasoned business owners, and ambitious entrepreneurs. Prepare to explore the dynamic world of franchising and business acquisitions. In our episodes, we will explore subjects like uncovering profitable franchise opportunities, taking the courageous leap into franchise ownership, and seamlessly transitioning from your traditional 9-to-5 routine into the domain of business ownership. With your host, Beau Eckstein, leading the way, join us as we dive into the exciting world of entrepreneurship. To catch previous episodes, dive into in-depth articles, and access a wealth of additional resources, visit us at ownabusinesstoday.com.